The Boston Massacre in 1770 was a major flashpoint in the American Revolution. We were angered by the growing presence of British soldiers in Boston and the constant harassment of Bostonians. Our clashes with British officials became more frequent and often were violent. On March 5, 1770, locals gathered outside the customs house on a cold and snowy evening and began arguing with 7 British soldiers. The incident escalated, and the British soldiers fired into the angry mob, killing 5 citizens. One of the killed was Crispus Attucks, of African and Native American descent. He is considered the first American killed in the American Revolution.
Chaos spread in the city and British troops were ordered to withdraw from Boston. At the trial of the accused, 2 British soldiers were convicted of manslaughter, though they were let off with a thumb branding, and the rest were acquitted.
Conflict in the colonies continued to brew, with Parliament passing more punitive laws, triggering the Boston Tea Party in 1774. The war began in April 1775. The British Parliament passed the Tea Act in 1773, which became a major cause of the American Revolutionary War.
The main goal of the Tea Act was to decrease the massive surplus of tea held by the British East India Company in London. It was also intended to help the struggling company avoid bankruptcy.
To do this, the act granted the company a monopoly on the tea trade in the American colonies. The company would no longer have to sell its tea to American merchants in Britain. Instead, it would ship its tea directly to the colonies and sell it there.
This also meant that the colonists could only buy tea from the British East India Company and not from anyone else, including Dutch traders who sold the tea at a much lower price.
The Tea Act was met with resistance in the colonies, as many saw it as another example of Parliament asserting its right to tax the colonies.
The Tea Act would inspire the Sons of Liberty to carry out the Boston Tea Party in December 1773.
The Boston Tea Party in 1773 significantly escalated tensions between Britain and the colonies. Colonists were infuriated when Parliament passed the Tea Act, which gave the East India Company a monopoly and a tax exemption on tea sales in the colonies. The colonists were already upset about paying the tea tax from the Townshend Acts in 1767. In the fall of 1773, the East India Company dispatched 7 ships loaded with tea to North America. Many in the colonies began to organize in opposition. When the Dartmouth arrived in Boston Harbor, we demanded it be sent back to Britain, but the governor refused.
Colonists organized by Sam Adams and the Sons of Liberty, dressed as Native Americans and wielding axes, boarded 3 ships on December 16th. They dumped over 300 chests of tea into the water as thousands of Bostonians watched from the shores.
Parliament reacted swiftly and in early 1774 passed the Coercive Acts, better known as the Intolerable Acts, to further punish the colonists. War started a few months later.